I'm your host, Reena Friedman Watts, and this is the Better Call Daddy Show.
Hey, this is Big Daddy, Wayne Friedman.
That's my grandpa. Grandpa, you ready for more daddy drama?
My dad is my number one hero and number one fan.
And I'm a pretty cool dude.
All right, season 4, baby. Here we go.
More stories you're not going to believe.
And maybe you will after you listen.
5 stars.
5.5 stars, 2 thumbs up.
You are a pretty cool dude.
I love you, Mommy.
Don't stand on the table and damn the public. You'll get some words of wisdom to live by.
Here we go again. Better call Daddy.
You know what your problem is? You like me.
Yeah, I do. Each week, I interview a guest, share the stories with my dad, and then he weighs in at the end of every episode with his wisdom and wit.
Hey, Grandpa.
Everyone from influential players to inspirational fathers, and of course, controversial people.
Grandpa, my mommy's calling.
Creating that legacy one call at a time. And welcome to the Better Call Daddy Show.
Stay tuned.
Where's the music?
Better call Daddy 'cause he knows you best. Better call Daddy 'cause he's bringing the test. He sees possibilities. Such possibilities. Better call Daddy, he'll be by your side. Better call Daddy, you're the apple of his eye. He sees all that you can be. All that you can be.
Before we get rolling, today I am participating in my first Podcasthon. There are thousands of podcasts from around the world, 47 countries, picking a charity of their choice and dedicating an episode of their podcast to raise awareness. Today, I am excited to be participating and speaking with Dorothy Gibbons of the Rose Houston. Make sure you pay attention until the end because I have a special daddy reaction from David Hirsch of the Special Fathers Network. Today's guest is the co-founder of the Rose Houston, which is a nonprofit here in town. She is a shining light, says my dad, and not looking to angle-dangle people. She's actually making quite a difference all over Texas. Dorothy Gibbons, welcome to the Better Call Daddy Show. Let's talk a little bit about your podcast. How and when did your podcast start?
We launched it in March of 23. We did some recording in the last part of 22, but we had 20 episodes in the can, and we said we're going.
Nice. And what's the name of your podcast?
Let's talk about your breast.
How did you come up with that title? Which I love the title. That's great.
Well, it has been a tagline theme that we've used for a couple of years. As we're talking to different populations, it's very hard for some cultures to talk about their breast, women in general. So we just did some educational videos on that. And I said, why don't we just keep doing it with the podcast? Of course, the first time I announced that to some very conservative funders, they all went, but hey, it's blown.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's catchy, it's memorable, and it's important.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The more that I have been doing this, and I've been doing this, as you know, for about 38 years, I can remember when we could not say the word breast on radio, on television. You had to tiptoe around it all the time. You could say mammograms, you could visualize. I mean, you could kind of demonstrate this is what we're talking about, but you couldn't say the word. So, we've come a long ways, but still, what do you talk about with your girlfriends? Your mammogram probably won't come up.
It's true.
It is our friends who most often encourage us to do it.
When did you get your first mammogram?
I was about 35.
Really? Which is young.
Yes, but it was routine at that time. You didn't have as much of the, issues on it. And it was when I first met Dr. Malillo. And of course, she scared me into, checking my breast every single day. And I had to have a mammogram. And, back then, I had the dense breast. So it was important to get started on it.
Okay. Wow. What interested you in this line of work?
I was in hospital field, had been marketing and PR for a hospital here in Pasadena that at that time, it was the 10th largest hospital in Houston. This is quite a few years ago. And when Dixie came in as a female surgeon, I had the great honor and responsibility of making sure our community knew we had a female surgeon. Well, in the first place, the hospital didn't have a female anything that was a physician. But in the second, she had such charisma and she wanted so much to be sure that women understood the importance of mammograms. And Rita, I went to lots and lots in fact, I always carried her to these different speeches, to these different events. I would set them up, I'd do her slides, I'd go with her. And the more that I heard her talk and the more I heard women talk, it was just real obvious that this was a huge need. Now, I have this incredible understanding about what happens when a family loses their mother, because I lost mine when I was 20. I was old enough to be on my own. My two sisters and brother were not, because I'm the oldest. And I just watched us fall apart. You don't have your mama figure there, it is really tough. And my father had left a long time ago. So she was holding us together. And that was so often what we were seeing in the 80s. People were losing insurance. Women weren't working as much back then. Their husbands were losing jobs in insurance. And invariably, the women that came to see Dixie had advanced breast cancer. So I was also the medical photographer at the hospital. And when Dr. Malillo would call me and say, bring your camera, I knew I was going to see something nobody should ever see, much less experience. And these were fungating cancers coming out of the skin and that had taken over the entire breast area. I show those pictures sometimes.
Oh my God. Like, were you scared?
I had done a lot of operating room photography. So I'd kind of got past that. This is a human body type thing. But every one of those women had been in a hard time, hard situation. And I just didn't make sense. It was one more way our society was failing half of its population. When I show those pictures, especially during my orientation, because, I want our employees to really know what happens. Invariably, somebody will say, well, that was back in 1983 and 84 and 85. And I say, no, at least every 3 months, once every 3 months, we see a woman like that here now.
Oh my God.
And Harris Health will tell you the same thing. So, we still got some work to do.
Wow. That's serious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It is, the tragedy is with early detection, and it doesn't always mean a mammogram, although that's your best chance. But if you find that cancer early, you've got a chance of beating it, being treated. And that's just really what we continue to say. And I'm going to tell you, when I look at some of our sponsored people, I realize there's so many women who don't have a choice, so many women who are taking care of everybody else. And they may mean to go do their annuals, but it gets away from them. And that's something that I don't think we can push enough. Women need to realize they are the value. They are that glue for the family. They are what moves the world.
Do you think losing your mom at a young age was a turning point for you? Did that become part of your why?
I think it did. I don't know that I went into it thinking, this happened to my mother. She was a single mother. They did not find the cancer early because she never went for any kind of screening. And it wasn't breast cancer screening. It was cervical screening. And at that time, everyone in the family, if they even broached the subject, the aunts and the uncles, it was, well, nobody in our family ever had any kind of cancer. Or it was that we didn't talk about it because it might be catching.
Right. There was shame around it.
A real shame with it. But I realized, and it just came to me after we'd started the Rose, that I was taking another one of those pictures, and suddenly I realized I was seeing my mother. I was seeing her frustration and her sadness at leaving her children, and knowing that somehow it being her guilt that she didn't take care of it sooner. She had no idea what was going on in her body. I mean, she had so many worries. So yes, I don't think it was the catalyst. I will never claim that. But I sure know that in my background in what I knew, it had to have played a part.
Can you
And she was at a charity hospital, Reena.
Oh,
so-
really? Oh my God.
And, in the 80s, there were a lot of charity hospitals, but I remember being 20 years old, holding her hand as she died, and thinking, I wonder what would have been different if she'd had insurance. Now, why did I even think that? What? But I knew that because she didn't, she had a different outcome. I knew it. And everything that I've seen at the Rose has shown me that over and over and over again. When you're uninsured, you just are going to think twice about going and spending money for a test.
I mean, even with insurance, I hate to say this, but I came from a history of breast cancer. Like my mom's had it, my grandmother's had it, and I had to pay out of pocket for a biopsy. What in the freaking world?
I don't think people realize how much healthcare providers fight insurance companies just to get people through the system.
All day long.
All day long. It does not, you pay big bucks for insurance, and invariably, the perfect example is we are seeing so many cancers in young women under 40. So, and the thing is, the recommendations for when you get a mammogram start at 40.
Right.
Now, that doesn't count if you found something. That doesn't count if you have a big family history. However, if you have a diagnostic mammogram, which it has to be called, even if you're just going because you have a family history, strong risk factors, it's going to be called diagnostic, and that will come out of pocket. So are we penalizing these young women for daring to get breast cancer? Are we penalizing them when they're trying to take care of themselves? Absolutely. Life insurance companies, you could save so much money on the other end if we catch it earlier. So it's just this constant battle. And you know yourself that it isn't the most fun thing to do. It's not something you always have time to do. And it really, I so appreciate women who can finally say, I got to go do this because it's for me. It really takes a lot for any woman, insured, uninsured, age doesn't make a difference, to put their health first.
I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for you, because to be perfectly honest, it's not easy finding a doctor that will write you a recommendation and finding somebody who takes new clients and then going to a new doctor and sitting there for hours. And to be honest, they wanted to do everything under the sun to get me to go to your facility. And I just had to jump through all of those hoops in order to do it. But you got to set aside a day, like you said, and you got to put your health first, and you got to jump through the hoops, and you got to do it. I now look at it like a birthday present to myself. I did it when I turned 45, right around my birthday, and I even waited. Thank God everything came back okay. I waited 5 years past when I should have. 1, out of fear. 2, out of inconvenience. And 3, I needed somebody to help me find the right doctor that would get me through the right place.
And see, you've listed another barrier that is just so difficult. Finding that doctor. And it again, you're insured. So here we're trying to find somebody that's on your list.
Right.
And, if you're uninsured, then we have a program that could get you through. But it's again, our system has done everything it can to keep women from it being an easy thing. I don't know that you were that afraid of doing this, Reena. Seriously.
A little bit.
But it was the inconvenience most of all.
Most of all, the inconvenience.
That's right.
I have to say, though, I think it's truly remarkable that you are not only interviewing people who are going through it, but also their spouses, because this affects families. This affects children. This affects spouses. This affects parents.
Yeah.
I mean, going through cancer is reckless.
It is probably the hardest thing to do. And, there's so many treatment effects that we have to remember. It's not over when the treatment's over. Your body is altered. Your life has changed. You may even, after experiencing all that, have different priorities. And, anytime we change in whatever circle we're in, it's a little scary for those around us. So, yeah, there's so many factors. But I really have learned to admire the daughters, sons, husbands who understood they couldn't fix it, but were still there for the woman going through it. It's pretty remarkable.
How have you changed over the 38 years of doing this?
I think I've become less tolerant of the things that don't make sense. And there's just so many things in healthcare that don't. Understand, I've never had a day when I didn't want to come to work. I've never had a day that I didn't love the roads. But boy, running a nonprofit is tough. I think today's world means any business is tough. But being in a world where you can see as many people lose their life as not certainly makes you different.
That's a good answer. Wow. I was wondering, how do you move on from that? How does that strengthen you? How do you keep going?
It's the other things. It's the employees. It truly. At Christmas time, my navigators decided to come up with this thing of they were going to make sure that all the women who were in treatment and had stage 4 or 5 that had children, that their children were going to have a Christmas present. Now, I didn't know anything about this. They're going around and asking their coworkers, would you like to be an angel to a kid? Would you like to give to this? Well, they managed just internally to take care of 26 women and 54 kids. And I went to that function where the mothers came. Rita, 3 of the mothers were pregnant. 1 was being induced that day. We're talking young women. And they all had these children. And I'm sitting there thinking, God has given me a gift. First of all, these employees who care so much. And I can walk into any part of our organizations, any part of the mobiles, and you're going to find that caring. They really do care about women and getting them through. But also, how many people get to see this life-changing experience where you're watching people who have very little receive such a gift. And the whole thing about it was there was so much dignity. It wasn't like charity or it wasn't like they had to ask for it. Our people just did it. And they came and they visited with their navigator, and, the navigators know everything about their family. And I guess it's things like that. And just about any time that I might think I was going to get down, that I'll have another experience like that. I have no problems when I see what some of our ladies are going through.
Wow.
It's really a God's gift.
What was it like in the beginning, opening a nonprofit and having this dream or idea?
We didn't have a clue what to do. We learned as we went. Our first fundraiser was a bachelor's auction. We sold men for breast cancer. I don't think you could do that today. But
I love it.
Everything was about fundraising, and we had garage sales, and we had bake sales, and we had shrimp boils. And it was also about showing that this could be done, showing that there could be a way of serving insured women who gave us a base to help serve uninsured. Now, yeah, we have to raise a lot of money to serve those uninsured women, but that insured woman coming to the Rose helps in ways that you cannot imagine.
Really?
So, oh yeah. I know we're not on every street corner, but if you have a choice and you can make the drive, then come to the Rose. You're helping us take care of people.
But you do have a mobile unit. It's so crazy. I was driving back from taking my son to the cardiologist this week, and I passed the Rose on the freeway. I took a picture.
Sure, you didn't send it to me.
I will. I was like, oh my God, I'm interviewing the Rose this week, and I passed the bus on the freeway. So talk about even being able to do this mobily and partnering with brands and how you are really thinking outside the box.
Right. We have 5 mobile coaches. And as you said, they're huge. It's like this gigantic billboard going down the street. And they cover 45 counties in Southeast Texas.
Wow.
They probably screen anywhere from 10 to 13,000 women a year. The coaches are the best example of our mission because 70%, 70+% of the women that we survey on the coaches tell us they would not have had their mammogram if we had not come to them And so we go to community clinics, we go to doctor's offices, we go to businesses, we go to churches. We don't just go somewhere and show up. We have to have a partner in that community to work with us, to help us be able to schedule these women, get the word out. But it really makes a difference. If we could have driven up to where you were, it just makes it so convenient. I've had owners of businesses call me and say, my gosh, my employees were only away 15 minutes. It didn't take a half a day because you were here. And it makes me, the owner, feel good that we provided this, besides being cost effective.
Have you had companies reach out to you and say, I want you to bring the mobile unit to our place?
All the time, but we are booked a year in advance.
Oh my
So
God, fantastic.
we really make a point to follow up with them, get them on the books when we can. But, people always want to do it in October during Breast Cancer Month. And we just keep, we do our good stewardship and keep calling them, but we are very busy. We could always use another coach. If you have any listeners that have $1.5 million sitting around, we'd be glad to buy another coach.
Wow, that's how much each coach costs?
Fully equipped, ready to go.
Oh my gosh. Incredible that you've grown into that, though, from doing bachelor auctions to that.
Yeah, but I had a lot of help, believe me. Dixie and I always say, we had some kind of help from somewhere, and we've always had a great staff that made it happen.
I can attest to that because I had such a positive experience. As long as I'm in Houston, I'm not going anywhere else. And I tell everyone about it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for making it easy because, like I said, I'd been putting it off for 5 years. Thank goodness I didn't have to get negative news. But what happens for the women that do? How is that different than my experience? I went in there, I was a little bit nervous. I was a little bit frustrated from how long I had to spend at my doctor's office. But you know what? I was able to walk out of there and get a whole education and feel good. What happens if you don't get that news?
Every woman's experience is different. And I really want to stress that. So many times someone will call me and say, I was just talking to my friend who had breast cancer and they're doing a different kind of treatment. Well, we've got to remember there's different types of breast cancer and there's different staging and there's different levels of so many parts of that cancer that could mean a different treatment. If you're insured, what happens is usually it will be your doctor's office that will call you and assist you in getting a referral to an oncologist. If you're uninsured and we've diagnosed you, then that's where our patient navigators come in. And that navigator is sitting with the woman at the time she gets her diagnosis. So from the get-go, and our radiologists are the ones that tell her, from the get-go, that patient knows that she's got a person here who's going to help her get through it. Our navigators are all bilingual. They're all street savvy. I don't think I have anybody on that staff that's under 10 years of being here. And our oldest one is 20 something years. So they've sat with a lot of women. They've watched a lot of women receive this diagnosis. And I'm sure you've heard this from other people, but the moment that the word cancer is connected to your name in a single sentence, you don't remember anything else. We could talk to you for an hour, but all you've heard is cancer and my name. So our navigators will call them the next day, say, here's the program we're going to take you through, and here's how we're going to get your treatment. And so that's the part, that's the ultimate what we do. And for those women, they're going to have an experience very similar to the insured woman. There's going to be some things that they probably can't afford, but they'll be very close to the same things that an insured woman would have to pay out of pocket. So very close. It's just that, don't know that I can speak for all of our we call our uninsured women sponsors because somebody had to help us sponsor her through this journey. But the cost of going to treatment, the cost of losing work, the cost of having to find someone to keep your kids while you're having treatment. If you have radiation, that's every single day for weeks that you have to make plans. And it could be just as hard for that insured woman, but for the uninsured, she may be the principal breadwinner, and losing work is really hard. And that's another thing that I think a lot of people are mistaken. When we say we have uninsured women, it doesn't mean they're not working. They are always working, but they don't make enough money to have insurance, or they work for a company that doesn't cover them. So, a lot of people are on private insurance or on ACA. And believe me, insurance is expensive. Good heavens.
It really is. And I've heard you even talk about the Affordable Care Act and how it's supposed to afford every woman these preventative checks. I mean,
and that is part of the law. When the Affordable Care came in, that was when 40-year-olds, if you're having regular routine, I'm so sorry. If you're having regular routine screening, then that should not be a cost out of your own pocket.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Do you want to restate that?
Okay. If you're 40 years old, then part of the Affordable Care Act brought in legislation that says if you're in a commercial insurance and you're having routine screening, it should be at no cost to you. You should have no out-of-pocket. Now, there's a few insurance companies that have got around it, but for the majority, for 90%, that mammogram that screening mammogram won't cost you. Your diagnostic will, like you said, your biopsy may. So
one thing I learned, you're probably going to even think this is funny, but the doctor I saw versus the doctor they billed me for were not the same. And prior to me getting my, going to the doctor and getting my referral, I made sure that the doctor I saw was in network. Because if you go to one that's not, there's going to be left over.
Right.
It's out of your pocket.
Right.
But you're not,
so many times people have surgery, the anesthesiologist will not be in network. And suddenly you got this big bill. And you thought you did everything right. That's the other injustice, I think, of insurance. Since when do we have to figure out how to get everything right?
If I didn't call, they were just going to send me to the collection agency.
Right.
I mean, that's crazy. How many times are we paying bills that are billed wrong, where we shouldn't even be paying stuff? Who has time to follow up on every medical bill? I mean, I'm a mom of 4.
Right.
That is so wrong.
They're counting on that.
It's awful.
I know, dear. Our system is really messed up.
But thank you, I just want to say, for making it easier for me, for making it easy for others, and for all these, uninsured and even insured. Even if you have insurance going to the Rose, you are going to have a better experience and probably pay less.
Oh, yes. Our out-of-pocket is so much less than many of the organizations charge. So
if you don't go to the Rose and you don't have insurance, though, there are other options, right?
There is the public health system, Harris Health.
And I've also heard you talk about different organizations. There was one episode you did with some guy that was in construction, and there's a construction organization, and they donate to some nonprofit. I forgot the name of it. I'll have to look that one up.
Oh, it's going to come to me the moment we hang up. I know.
Let me look at it because I can edit. Oh, my phone.
Because so many of our fundraisers are done by people in the community, and they're helping us to get women in and get them through the system. So that is our lifesaver. If people want to do what we call a third-party event, where you just have an event and you raise money, that is incredibly appreciated first, but it's also part of how we keep going. We depend on the community donations. We depend on grants. We depend on that individual who decides to make us a reoccurring gift every month. Those things are so important.
Are you guys partnered with Chick-fil-A? I heard somebody mention that.
It's a beautiful community partnership, but one Chick-fil-A, this is Coach Tony, and it's out in Siena. What's the rest of that? It's a little ways out. And he offers a Chick-fil-A for a year if you come and have your mammogram. Now, his events, they are scheduled in 30 minutes. They are packed. They are booked in 30 minutes because women wait for this opportunity to get Chick-fil-A for a year as a gift, as a thank you for having your mammogram. Now, is that not incredible?
That is remarkable. How did that happen?
Sienna Crossings. It's Tony Levine. Is a great, great human being, but he had a personal experience with his wife going through it, and he made a decision to be part of the community that helps other women. And, they do so many other things for us. They sell cookies in October, and I can't say enough good things about this man, but many other Chick-fil-A's also choose the Rose as their charity during that October month. That's what makes the difference in how many women we can serve. We do get grants, and we get some very nice grants. But many times your grants will say, well, not anybody under 40. Or they'll have stipulations on only in these counties. Or, they all have their own criteria, which is as they should. But when we have gifts that are unrestricted, then we can take care of that really young woman, or we can take care of whomever doesn't fall in that grant criteria. I just can't tell you. We like to have 20, 25 women on the coach when we go out. Many times we'll have it booked almost, and it's having that extra funding that we could put 2 more women in or 3 more women in that makes a difference.
I just can't say enough good things about you. I'm very impressed.
I appreciate so much your case, and since you've shared it, which I can't, but I kept hearing you say, "Oh, I'm 45, hadn't done it yet. Oh, my mother, my grandmother," and I'm going, "Oh my gosh, we got to get this woman in." And you were a little tough cookie there, girl. But I'll get it done. And I knew you would have to have a little push. Not much, but a little push. And I thought, that's why these podcasts are really valuable. Whether I'm interviewing you, you're interviewing me, it's because we're giving a message to other women, especially in your case, you've been so upfront and said, I didn't really want to do it. I put it off. We all feel that at some point. I mean, we all put off things. And it kind of helps to know you've got a kindred soul over here that's been through it too and is encouraging you. That's so important. I appreciate you.
I absolutely love that message. It's crazy. I interviewed somebody who's in stage 4 cancer, and, she went in, she had felt a lump at 28. She was told it was a benign cyst, went back 8 months later, and she was stage 4. And she was at the top of an international modeling career and beautiful. And she said, "This is what cancer can look like. I never thought in a million years that this would be me." I interviewed her, and I promised to her I would get a mammogram. And a year later, I connected with Freddie Cruz, who's doing your podcast. And it took having an advocate, somebody saying, "Okay, stop putting this off. I'm going to help you do it,"
Right.
to get me through the door. So that was you. And then I started listening to your podcast. I'm like, oh my God, you are, 1, really good at marketing, 2, super likable, and I could see why people feel safe in coming to you. And 3, like the podcast that you're putting together with these people that are really going through it and sharing their stories so vulnerably really spoke to me.
And I appreciate that. Can you imagine telling your stories? And we have been in tears many times, but how brave they are. And I just think that kind of courage few of us have, just because it might help somebody else. It is really remarkable.
Well, my dad's definitely going to love this story, and he himself has been through it with my own mother. So is there anything that you would like to ask my dad around what you do or breast cancer or any of that?
And I don't know that he'd share it with you, but I would want to know what was the most difficult part about caring for your mother, being there for her. I've interviewed, like you said, quite a few spouses, and I'm always kind of surprised at what was their biggest challenge. Because like you said, this isn't a one-person disease. It's the whole family's going through it.
That's a great
So ask him
question.
that. Ask him. And I'd also like to know how he feels about you calling him and making this all about talking to him afterwards. I never knew my dad. So that has to be a very unique relationship you have with him.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, he loves it.
Well, good. Good. I'll be anxious to hear what he says.
Thank you so much. And let people know how they can support The Rose and find your podcast and connect with you.
Podcast is on anywhere you hear podcasts. Sometimes the easiest way to do it is just to go to our website, therose.org. And on that website, you're going to find out how to make an appointment, how to donate to give another woman an appointment. And also you'll see the whole range of services that we do offer.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I can't wait to hear what my dad has to say.
You've heard from my mom. Now, let's switch it over to Grandpa.
I thought it was interesting the question that Dorothy asked you. She wanted to know what was the biggest challenge in mom dealing with breast cancer.
When I went up to the hospital after it was done, and you see her there laying there, and she has the oxygen that she's breathing and that she's pale, and you say to yourself, marriage is not an easy thing as it is, and you have ups and downs. But here, she's had to have her body distorted, and it's very easy to feel very alone in that moment in time. And I think I made up my mind that that's not the time that you want to run out on someone when they're the most vulnerable. That's where you really want to show the most support and make sure that she knows that I'll always take care of her.
Wow. I never heard you tell me that.
Yeah, even though I have ups and downs with your mom, she's given me a lot of very rewarding things in my life as well. I know your mom almost, 49 years or so. So time goes very quickly. And if you can be fortunate enough to share it with someone that goes through all the battlefields with you, you should at least give them some attention.
She wanted to know, what do you think of me calling you?
The truth of the matter is that you're a chip off the old block and a tough girl. The funny part is you have a son that's just as tough as you, giving you the same payback. I'm sure you're pretty well occupied on how to manage and be a parent yourself, and it's not an easy job. Maybe one day you will realize that your mom, even with her imperfections, did a pretty good job in raising the three girls. It could have been a lot worse, believe me. And a lot of adversities you have to overcome being Jewish and living in Louisville, Kentucky, the way things ended up. I think you all maybe could have done better, but you all certainly could have done a lot worse too. I think you all have an opportunity to stand on your own feet and carve out your own path and destiny. And that's what parents are supposed to be there to try to guide you to be able to do. You have to do a lot of it on your own. Now, your guest, Dorothy, is really perfect for our show, the Better Call Daddy podcast, because she's also a very genuine, caring person that has seen the adversity of breast cancer and has dedicated through ups and downs to run a nonprofit organization with the outreach that she has, you have to say, is very commendable. Some people would say you run a business, that you make money, you affect some people, you don't affect people. But you can tell from the interview that she has a genuine caring for women to give them every opportunity to do it cost effectively, but more importantly, to get out there and understand that this is a very terrible disease that can maim you, kill you, and make you really miserable if you survive it. To catch it early is a very big quest, because as it gets to be at a certain level, it can be very devastating. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's almost like 1 in 5 women experience some type of probability of getting breast cancer. I don't think it's a small thing. I think it's a widespread thing. And she's out there in the trenches promoting women's care, where she's doing an incredible job.
I was quite impressed. I hadn't gotten one, and she really made that possible. So hats off to her.
And I hope that people will continue to connect with her. And she's gotten really some terrific people that help back her up. And she's really a family person. And everybody that works with her, she's a little bit intoxicating where you really want to be around her. She really shines the light. And there isn't enough people like her in this world. So when you find someone that can shine light and help other people with a genuine sense of caring, those are the people you want to surround yourself with.
I love Dorothy's passion, her relentless commitment to serving women, and being a beacon of hope for those impacted by breast cancer. Her message about the importance of regular, routine screenings rang through loud and clear. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1996. Fortunately, it was diagnosed early, and the lumpectomy she had put the cancer into remission. When my mom passed away 8 years ago, at age 83, it wasn't due to breast cancer. Early detection is the name of the game as it relates to cancer. It's the main reason all men should get PSA tests starting at 50, and both men and women should get colonoscopies starting no later than 50 as well. With early detection, no one should die from breast, prostate, or colon cancer. Through regular PSA tests, I was very fortunate to learn about my own prostate cancer diagnosis more than 3 years ago. Since then, I've had extensive testing done, including biopsies, MRIs, genetic testing, and further PSAs. Luckily, my treatment plan is to be on what's referred to as active surveillance. I admire Dorothy's commitment and dedication to educate both women and men about the importance of screening and early detection. She's truly been a warrior in the fight against breast cancer. I think of people like Dorothy as the angels in society.
And that wraps up today's special episode of Reena trying out her first Podcasthon. To learn more about Podcasthon, go to podcasthon.org and check out hundreds of other associations and amazing podcasters who participated. Thanks for listening. Now I think I'm going to go call my dad.
I'll say goodbye and see you the next time.
Thanks for listening to the Better Call Daddy Show. Join us weekly for new episodes and more daddy wisdom.
Better Call Daddy is good advice always.
And love you, Grandpa, and love you, Mommy.
That's so cute. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You can also find special episodes on my YouTube channel, and you can listen on Apple Podcasts,
On Good Pods.
Spotify, Amazon Music, Alexa, or your preferred podcatcher. That's a wrap for now.